and welcome to Sarah's Stamping Retreat. Today we're going to be using this month's Hero Arts Clubs to create some fun cards. So there's a kind of soupy theme to this month's clubs, and so you've got all sorts of fun puns like you are super, super big thanks, there's like get well soon, sentiments in there, that kind of thing. So we're going to start with the biggest club, which is the card kit of the month. So within that card kit you get this super cute stamp set with loads of different sentiments. You've kind of got the normal get well soon, you've got your super, life is short, lick the bowl, all sorts of different things, and then obviously all the stuff for the soup as well. And then you also get all the dies to cut out all the images as well and all the sentiments. Then you get this cute die set which creates kind of like hugging arms with a heart. Then you get these pieces of cardstock, so you get poppy and pomegranate, carrot, terracotta, cinnamon, beeswax, saffron, Tuscan, alabaster and truffle. So a nice selection of kind of like earthy type tones that are good for these food type cards. That's 10 sheets of cardstock, and they're just the right size to make a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch card blank. And then you also get the brown acrylic speckle. So I'm going to make a couple of cards with this card kit. So for the first one we're going to use this hug one. So I've cut the two pieces out in mint cardstock, and then I've also cut them out in chiffon. So I'm just going to cut the arms off of that chiffon piece because I only really want the hands for that. So then I'm going to glue those over the hands on the mint cardstock. And then we're going to create the sleeve. So you can see I've already created this one, and then I've left this one to create. So what I want to do is just, there's lines on this cardstock that are kind of embossed with the die, so I know exactly where to add my stripes. And so you can see I've left the pieces in my die so I know exactly where they go, and I'm going to put them on. The first two fell out, so I'm going to poke these out so they're in order on my mat. And then I love that the lines on the die cut arm show you exactly where they go, so you don't have to worry about where to put them. So then what we need to do is just glue them onto the arms. So I glue this on here, and you just match it up with this end. I'm going to do the same on the other sleeve. So then I'm going to grab this Get Well Soon from this stamp set, and I'm going to stamp that at the bottom here, and then I'm just going to stamp that here. So then I've got a mint green card blank, and I'm just going to add these onto there. So I'm going to just add that to the top of my card. And then I'm going to do the same with this piece at the bottom. You have to excuse me if it looks like I'm struggling with these foam pads today. Basically it's because I am. They're old ones that I found, but I didn't want them to go to waste. Because they're a bit old, the back ends don't come off that easily. So then I'm going to slide that so that the two arms kind of intertwine. And then I'm going to attach this at the bottom of my card. And then what I'm going to do is just take this heart and add it on under here so that the arms are hugging the heart. So I'll just glue that in there. So then that's that first card finished. Okay, so for this next card we're going to use this part of the kit. So I'm going to create my saucepan full of food first. So we've got the saucepan and we've got the saucepan lid. Then with this piece, I can just stamp in the food. And then I'm going to use this piece to kind of add some texture to that. And then I've got this piece and I can use that to stamp on the pattern. And then I'm going to stamp all these bits of food as well. So then I'm going to just colour my images with my alcohol markers. And then I'm going to cut them out with the coordinating dies. So then I'm going to take a 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch card blank. And I'm going to stamp it with the rubber stamp of the month, which is this kind of dotty pattern. And these stamps are great for all of your beautiful pattern backgrounds. So I'm going to add that to my stamping platform. And then I want to heat emboss there. So I'm going to add some embossing ink to it. I'm going to press that down. And then I just want a subtle tone on tone background, so I'm just going to heat emboss it with clear embossing powder. So then I've got a 2 1/4 by 4 1/4 piece of fawn cardstock, and I'm just going to pop this a super big thank you across the bottom. And then I'm going to glue that to the bottom of my card. Then I've sorted these out so that I've got the layout that I want. So then I'm going to glue the ones down that are kind of in the background and pop the ones up in the foreground. And then I think that came out really sweet. So then I'm going to move on to the fancy day of the month. So we've got these arms, we've got the full alphabet, so you can put whatever message you want. Got all the things to make a bowl of soup, including the spoon. I'm assuming that's an egg, and some leaves, and then we've got a few already done sentiments. So we've got things like love you, get well soon. So I'm going to go for kind of a bold look on this one. And I'm going to use that rubber stamp again. And I'm going to ink it up in black ink this time. I'm going to stamp that down. And we've got that fun bold background. So then I've got all these die cut pieces that I want to put together. I've cut the spoon in silver cardstock, and I've cut the soup in fawn cardstock, which is going to go on some black for the bowl. And then I've got the details for this. And I'm going to use the get well soon sentiment. So I'm going to add this into the middle of my card. And then I'm going to have this hand holding the spoon. And I'm going to have this hand holding the bowl. So this finger's going to go under that bowl a bit. And then I'll just trim off that excess. So that's that card done. So then for this next card, I'm going to use this stamp and die for the month. So this time it's kind of a soup pot with some florals, some chopsticks, and all the dies to coordinate with that. So again, I'm going to stamp some of these out. And then I'm going to pop your super on there. So then I'm just going to colour those now, and I'll cut them out with the coordinating dies. So then I'm going quite clean and simple for this one. If you aren't really a clean and simple person, you can always put a pattern in the background or something. But I'm going to just use a Bellini card blank, and then I'm going to pop up a piece of Bellini cardstock that is 3.5 by 4 3/4 inches, and that just gives it a bit of depth without adding any extra colour. So then I'm going to add on my soup pot, and then I'm going to add on these chopsticks. And then I'm just laying out the flowers so that I know where I want them. And then I'll glue those bits down as well. I'm going to pop up the flowers. And then there's that card finished. So then I'm going to use the stencil of the month for this next one. And I'm going to stencil onto the pink card blank. So I'm going to use black soot for the first layer. And I've made a bit of a smudge there, but I'm hoping that with the next layer I can kind of cover some of that over. Because I'm using the Distress Oxide inks, they do kind of layer over each other. Then I'm going to layer the first one back on, and where we've lost a bit of that detail on some of the elements, I'm going to go back in with the black. Okay, for this next one I'm going to go in with the candied apple. And then for the final layer I'm going to go in with some saltwater taffy. So then I've got this cool background, and obviously I've used Distress Oxide inks. You would get different results if you used like dye inks. And then I'm just going to stamp this Your Super from that last stamp set that we used. I'm going to stamp it on some red cardstock. And then I'm going to cut that out with the coordinating die. And then I'm just going to pop that up in the middle of my card. Then there's that one done. And then for my final card, I'm going to use this die set. And this is the die set that you get free if you buy the whole studio, which is all of the kits. You get $20 off of the individual prices, and you get this die set this month. You always get a free gift each month. So I thought that I might give this splatter a go. So you're supposed to add a bit onto here, and then we can pick it up with a brush and give it a splatter. Oh, and that works really nicely. I did wonder whether it might need to be thinned down, but it works nicely as it is. So I'll set that to the side for a second. So that, by the way, is a 2 3/4 by 4 inch piece of red cardstock. So then I've got a black piece that is 1/4 of an inch bigger than that, and a red card blank. And then I'm just going to pop my pieces together. So I'm going to pop that red piece in here. This is fawn cardstock, by the way. So I'm just going to grab my sticky mat back in. I'm going to add these pieces to my sticky mat. I should have done this before I added that on, but I only remembered afterwards. So I'm going to grab a blending brush, and I'm just going to add a little bit of ink just around the outside of here, just to add a little bit of depth. And the same around the edge of this. And then I'm just going to use the excess ink that's already on the brush to go over these, because I don't want a lot of ink on them. I just want a little touch. So then I'm going to add on my words, and I'm going to put on super big thank you. Now I'm going to add on this piece. So then I'm going to glue these two pieces together. And I'll just pop this up on some foam. So then I'm going to add on my die cut pieces. Pop this up. And then that's that final card done. And so then there we've got all 6 of today's cards. I really hope that you enjoyed creating them with me. If you did, I'd appreciate you clicking like below, and you can also press subscribe if you'd like to see future videos. If you press the bell button and select all, then YouTube will also notify you when I've got a new video available. All of the products that I've used for today's cards are listed in the description below, and there's also a link there to my blog where you can find a picture supply list if that helps you find what you're looking for. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope to see you again soon.